Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Shares with Kevin, where we add value to people's lives, happening every day at 12 on ebusradio.com. For our lunchtime marketing segment, our very own resident genius, marketing and communications expert, Craig Paisley. How are you doing, Craig?
Well, Kevin, gosh, please keep that in the recording. That was great.
No, I was like thinking, I need to just switch it up a bit because I find it quite intriguing how you make conversation come to life from so many aspects. And guys, if you are listening to this and you haven't heard some of the lunchtime marketing, I would suggest you go back and go and check it out online. It's on the lunchtime series on YouTube, but it's also on eBus Radio, happening every Thursday at 12 o'clock. Some of the segments are just they completely intriguing, and how you've managed to put them all together and make sense of it is like, that's just amazing. So absolute resident genius.
Thanks. I absolutely love doing it, and you'll be surprised today because there's there are 2 or 3 threads of some of the other conversations that you might not expect coming out on this one again as well. So it's my duty to have to try and thread our thinking, particularly because marketing is interconnected in every single way, whether it's about delivery or technologies or platforms or planning. It's all part of the construct of marketing, and it's important for me to be able to find a way to demonstrate the codependencies and linkages across this particular discipline.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to touch on that point, Craig, last week we covered how banks are evolving to meet the ever-increasing demands of customers looking for digital and online-only services. And this is impacting the design and function of retail branches. So, to a large degree, resulting in the closure of many traditional bank branches around the world.
Yeah, Kevin, you're right. The future of banking is definitely shaped by technology dev in the space. Design, layouts, operations, size, staff skills, something important to understand there as well. The number of branches are all being challenged through the adoption of these technologies and online biased services. And I think it's one area that we definitely need to watch closely over the short term, because I believe we're going to see some real great designs emerge out of this. But the important thing here is these designs, I think, will keep customers at the center of experience. Really, customer centricity at the end of the day is what's going to inform and influence design. And so whether experiencing bank services at an ATM via a call center, personal engagement, audio engagement, or actually physically visiting a new branch, whether you walk in or through a virtual experience, all of this is really opening up for an exciting time ahead. And we're definitely beginning to see some sexy stuff happening.
Yeah. So, Craig, and I'm quite curious about what is the future, like the bank of the future, going to look like? Especially if you mentioned, like last week, some of the fintech brands are taking on traditional banks by offering online-only banking services as well.
Yeah, very, very true. And the emergence of fintech is really where the stopping point for traditional banks is. They need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. But it's an exciting space, Kevin. The fintech brands are bringing some great innovation to the sector. And most importantly, as we spoke about last week, it's the partnering of traditional FinServe and fintech brands that are helping improve their operations, streamlining the back-end systems, and therefore the overall customer experience, hopefully.
So with that in mind, what are some of the tips and takeaways from last week's session?
Yeah, a couple of 7 simple tips from last week, Kevin. So referencing the printechgroup.com blog that we covered, titled Digital Transformation in Banking, 7 Things to Consider Prior to Investing in the Next Big Thing. I just want to start by reading their opening line, which was really important. It's: embracing digital transformation in the banking industry is not a matter of choice anymore. It is a fact that shapes the future of all banks, whether they're doing it or not. And really, that's the underlying point here. So the 7 steps go on to state the following. So they can inform customers' needs and expectations in the digital era by embracing mobility through intelligent mobile apps, and not only that not only provide account information or process simple transactions, but that also engage the customer through compelling gamified promotions, programs, or letting customers share their financial goals, be it purchasing of a home or saving for retirement. Point 2 is being up to date with digital innovation and keeping in touch with new technologies. It's not just about app innovation, it's understanding what's happening in that fintech space as well. Point 3 is about involving automation and wherever you can in the business. Automation of workflows, for example, to increase productivity and customer satisfaction. Point number 4, get to know your customer better, obviously through that big data word we use so frequently, understanding analytics and meaningful insights. Point 5, responding with smart digital solutions to customers' do-it-yourself mindset. For example, installing those self-service stations and tablets in branches that allow customers to perform all of the basic transactions themselves, but really only go to a counter for the higher-end need products. Point 6, rethinking the role of branches by changing the habits, the incentives, and the overall experience of the people who work within and for the branch. And finally, point 7, keeping focus on the multi-channel services and human interaction. And important here, Kevin, is even in this digital all world that we live in, human interaction still plays a fundamentally important part in gaining customers' trust and opening the door for new banking experiences.
Yeah, because as you're speaking, and like part of our conversation we mentioned last week was, the technology being at the forefront of the world and how banks are really doing what they're doing. You can't help but think, what does that mean for employment, and how does that influence employment? But like you're saying, it comes back to people are still looking for that engagement with human engagement. But I mean, with Craig, sorry, you.
Yeah, so just on that point, if I look at the conversation we had around the work from home and virtual workforce, one of the things that emerged out of the work from home proposition is that the skill sets are also changing there, and the way organizations are then needing to create learnership opportunities for their staff that are sitting in remote environments actually come out quite nicely in the conversation we talk about today as well.
Fantastic. So, I mean, tell us, what is it that we're actually going to be talking about today?
Okay, so I want to keep on the theme of financial services, but this time looking at how banks are using augmented reality specifically to enhance the customer experience. As I talk about in the absence of face-to-face, particularly on the back of the likes of COVID, and that has really brought a lot of this to the fore.
More fun technology, right?
I've enjoyed playing with this tech myself. So first, I just again want to set some context here, because there are two key words that really trip people up when they don't understand them, and one is being augmented reality, which is the key topic of our discussion today, and the other is virtual reality. So the point to note here, Kevin, in really simple terms, is virtual reality or VR and augmented reality or AR accomplish two different things in two very different ways. Okay. VR is in essence replacing reality. In other words, it takes you somewhere else in a fictitious sort of immersive kind of a way, whereas augmented reality adds layers and overlays information on top of what you're doing or seeing or experiencing. So in a very simple sentence, one could say that VR replaces your vision and AR adds to your vision. Really, really nice, simple statement when thinking of the difference between the two. So referencing a post on guru99.com, we read the following differences between AR and VR. So augmented reality is a perfect blend of digital world of the digital world and the physical elements that create an artificial environment. Apps which are developed using AR tech for mobile or desktop blend digital components into the real world. So in essence, where we're sitting now, if you had an AR app in place, it adds layers to this experience and you'll physically see them in front of you from that particular device. Whereas virtual reality is computer-generated simulation of an alternate world or reality, and it's used in 3D movies and video games. And It helps to create simulations similar to the real world and immerse the viewer in that space using computers and sensory devices. And here's the key thing again, like headsets and gloves and things like that. So it's got a layer of enhancements, but what's really great about this, it is also used for training, education, and science. And I talk about the work from home stuff. If there's physical, quite instructive kind of learning, and you've got your VR headsets at home, you can actually engage in that in a physical 3D experiential node and conduct your learning modules on that basis. But yeah, just to close off on that context, Kevin, it's great to see that AR is absolutely tying in right with the green conversation as well, which I suppose you might not have expected at all. And that AR can actually help businesses build sustainable business practice. So how, you may ask? Let me give you a few simple tips here. So AR can help engage customers. How? Recently, Burger King removed all of their plastic toys from their meals for kids as a forward step to sustainability. And in such a scenario, marketers face a challenge in engaging their primary consumers, in this instance, the kids. So augmented reality here can solve a problem by launching an immersive live 3D game or caricature of that particular cartoon in a kid's reality. So, plastic elimination, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. AR can also help decrease pollution. So using AR, you can take live models of your products to any place, anytime. So for instance, nationwide launch of a new motor car, that need not be initiated by transporting the car to each of the dealership rooms. You can have an interactive click of a button engagement, and the live model comes to bear on the screens in the retail showroom, which helps for reducing transportation, cutbacks on usage, cost of fuel, less pollution, et cetera, et cetera. AR can then, on the back of that, save a lot of manufacturing waste by using augmented reality to design the prototypes, help save both the material and the material costs. And the ideation and iteration can be done with no material used at all. Using AR on factory floors to assist the workers brings down the chance of human error to zero, thereby reducing manufacturing waste. And last but not least, the point of AR reducing the need for physical presence. And how's what this for you? So AR can actually, in real time, connect people by superimposing their digital information in each other's reality. And obviously, this is app-driven. It reduces the requirement of physical space, daily travel to meet someone, and works quite nicely with the work-from-home world we currently operate in. And one of the benefits on the back of that is that it can reduce quite large rental costs in offices as well. And what's really great is businesses can digitize their company processes, make them more efficient, bring productivity and sustainability to the fore as well.
Yeah, and I think the whole Zoom conversation was quite obvious, and like in our faces with COVID, like literally reducing your physical space to kind of like, I need to be in, online and work, but I can't be in that physical space. And I've heard so many companies literally saving costs by reducing rental space that they sort of were. So I mean, it's already. I think AR is this thing of the future, and
to the Zoom point, that I like that you mentioned that. Now imagine if we're running this call through our laptops or desktops, okay? But on the mobile device, we've got an AR app, and under instructive learning or group participation, you then ask to launch your app on your device as well, and there's a trigger on the screen. And that app in itself launches another layer of information. So whilst we're having collective instructive learning, we've got other layers of engagement and participation through the likes of these augmented reality apps. It's incredible.
Yeah. So, I mean, now that we have a good understanding of the topic, how is AR being used in banks?
Yeah, cleverly. That's I'll start by saying that. So, Kevin, to dive into the topic, it's definitely been used quite well in banks. And the key reason here is that it's not only about helping operational efficiencies, but definitely ensuring that it's there to enhance the overall user and customer experience. So in referencing a really interesting article from the finextra.com blog titled Redefining Banking with Augmented Reality and Virtual Reality, posted as recently as the end of August last year, and produced by Sabura Sahu, who's a senior solution consultant at Wipro, read the following. Emergency technologies such as augmented reality and virtual reality have been a boon and a significant contributor to the future of banking by letting banks create immersive customer experiences, platforms, and applications that lead to higher user engagement, seamless banking solutions, and positive brand communication. Using augmented reality in banking can not only increase the efficiency of certain operations, but also enhance overall user experience. Wow. So yeah, there's about sort of 4 or 5 points that I really want to talk about in looking at these particular aspects in practice. So from a banking point of view, an example could be simply creating a virtual digital branch where customers are engaged and have direct access to not only the broad range of products information, but also their own personal account profiles, as well as real live delivery of personalized information on new product solutions, and that's all of that from virtual assistants. It can also help customers with a 360 view of their current position, what their financial status is, what particular requests are in place, and how the services can assist them in that regard as well. Then from a payments point of view, we were talking about this the other day, contactless virtual cards and digital wallets, they've enabled seamless payment experience and will definitely assist in the absence of instant checkout opportunities. And the debit and credit cards are now universally seen as a single platform, but also enhanced with greater protection against theft and loss through smart authentication processes. And information can be easily visualized, which provides customers with user-friendly information, easier payment options with instant tracking and immediate bank balance checks. Just by pointing a phone at your card, you'll be able to launch all of that information. And one of the most important points here is trading of data. Data, as we talk about constantly, is playing a hugely important role in banking. And as you know, critical decisions are made from this data that's important for customer engagement and decision making, not just for the customer, but from the banking side as well. And data visualization can help deliver the detailed understanding of all of those underlying intricacies and correlations that lie in the data with absolute accuracy. From the insurance side, companies can utilize AR when it comes to claims investigation. The environment that insurance professionals work in is easily analyzed, information collected and recorded on a real-time basis through the likes of AR. With the introduction of devices and complex equipment being insured in industrial settings and the need to make quick assessments of weather-related damage, for instance, the insurance industry is definitely on the front foot by applying this. So imagine walking into an environment, there was a flood at your house, roof tiles blew off or something like that. Augmented reality, literally the assessor can come in, scan around, assess in the third dimensional space, get a full caption of what's in place, load it dynamically into your claim sheets and things like that. And it just really brings an immersive layer to bear there. And finally, mobility. AR has definitely created disruption in the digital mobile app space through development of super apps, which are capable of, and this is really cool, the super apps are capable of executing multiple functions from that single base. So be able to use your apps across more than just banking, insurance, and retail services, but also, in the restaurant environments, in hospitality and in tourism, etc. And the tourism piece I quite like is you could literally, you could be standing in the Champs-Élysées, point at any one of the buildings there, and you get a real-time dynamic piece of rich embedded history around the environment, etc., etc.
Yeah. Greg, so can you give us some examples of how AR is being used in the banks?
Yeah, Kevin, definitely. Another quite informative article on wowso.me that provides an in-depth look into how it's being used to enhance the customer experience. And this particular article is titled 11 Banks That Have Successfully Adapted Augmented Reality, posted by Harsh Kramanchani. The article notes that a big driver of the evolution of technology in the banking industry will be augmented reality technology, but it has been around for more than a decade. So with almost everyone having a smartphone nowadays, augmented reality has found its new home in the path of millions of users across the globe and is leading the way towards the future of banking technology. Banks have taken advantage of this futuristic technology for quite some time, and your bank should not fall behind. So I'll quickly just list the 11 banks that are referenced in the article, and I'll give you a single statement as to how they're using the augmented reality. And then I'm going to pick on maybe 3 or 4 of those because I've looked at quite different examples so that you can get a good sense of that. So some of these brands you will know, there's some really good global brands in here. So let me start. Yeah. So Axis Bank is one of India's leading banks, and they used augmented reality navigation to highlight how to access ATMs, branches, and food outlets. And that's literally by pointing at a map and bringing that proposition to life. Westpac Bank, a New Zealand bank, launched an app to enable augmented reality data visualization, augmented reality account management, budgeting, and payment gateways. And literally your entire dashboard is in a virtual sensory field in front of you. Citibank, a bank we know that operates in South Africa as well, an American bank. Interestingly, it was founded as the City Bank of New York in 1812. They came up with a holographic workstation as a proof of concept that's focused on financial traders and end users. And whilst I'm not going to pick up on that, there's a really interesting YouTube video on Citibank, how they brought this through the VR headsets, how they brought an entire trading desk environment to life. Really, really interesting stuff. Wow. Commonwealth Bank, a very, very well-known bank, leading Australian bank, and they developed a very interesting AR property guide app that provides real-time insights in real estate for home loan applications. Standard Chartered, a great leading British bank that created an open social network to find and share coupons and offers for their Chinese clients, and they obviously understood, the trigger and dynamic of Chinese culture very much around coupon-based proposition in a particular audience segment, and then they tied up and partnered with local coupon forms to launch all of these coupons from an AR point of view. Deutsche Bank, present in South Africa as well, German multinational investment bank, and they set up a large magic mirror in a mall in Germany, which powered augmented reality customer surprises. Desjardins Bank, Quebec-based, not many people know about this bank. They used AR to deliver financial literacy using augmented reality personas, which was really, really clever. Visa, obviously a platform we all know. They the biggest payment provider in the world. They used augmented reality to demonstrate how payments can be integrated with any service to facilitate seamless and immersive payments, and I'm going to touch on them. Capital One, another American bank, they launched an auto navigator AR app, which users can activate within retail showrooms or even just be on the street and points to a car, and you can get any information around that particular model, year, etc., etc. BNP Paribas, a leading French bank that had a huge problem as bank employees had a problem remembering the details of all the product and services they offer. And as we alluded to earlier, it's a really good platform for ongoing learnership and education. And ASB Bank, that not ABSA, ASB, an Australian bank operating in New Zealand, they used AR in, interestingly, the recruitment of corporate bankers for the organization through an augmented reality application as well. So, yeah, 11 banks doing fundamentally different things using augmented reality, and it's really good to see that. So I'm just going to touch on 3 here, Kevin.
Yeah.
Axis Bank, as I mentioned, the India bank, they augmented reality navigation to access ATMs, branches, and food outlets. The mobile bank offered multiple augmented reality services, and by using the AR view option in a Near Me tab, customers could then define their geographical radius of what they wanted the banking app to show. And in there, they could show nearest ATM, nearest branches, and actually physically give you holding your device, directing you to the respective ATMs or the branches. And what was really cool is they also wanted to encourage their customers to use some of the other perks that they had in their banking proposition and loyalty programs. So they picked up any of the food outlets that fell within that edge rewards program, and they pointed those out in that particular parameter. So they're offering navigation options to the nearest food outlets as well, and then allowed them to pay with those rewards points in those specific partner outlets. So a nice integrated proposition around leading you to the service offering you need, but actually on selling you something else in the process, but then locking you back into the rewards points that you have in your environment.
Yeah. Yeah, FNB is definitely going to be listening at your advice here, Craig. And I'm sure they're going to be like, oh, this is a fantastic idea.
And then Westpac Bank, they are data visualization, account management, budgeting, and payment gateway. They took it to an international level where they launched their mobile app with a lot of interactive features that reformed the way customers could actually manage their accounts. So their app allowed customers to scan their debit or credit card with their phone camera, which I alluded to a short while ago, and overlaid on that customers on the card visually. Customers could actually then see their current balance, their spend breakdown in the past 2 weeks, categories where they've spent, and actually due payments that they need to be making, which they could then instantaneously make as well. And they, again, this is very clever. The banks, they have a loyalty program as well. So their Hot Points catalog appeared and integrated into the app, and then customers can actually then start shopping and buying in an augmented reality way. And then lastly, on the three examples is Commonwealth Bank, and it's a phenomenal bank. I spent a lot of time having a look at the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. So their property guide app creates or delivers real-time insights on real estate home loans. And the objective here was to provide a simple process of finding a new home in Australia. So the CommBank property app is what it was called, provides access to data of about 95% of residential properties in Australia, Kevin. And using the real estate app, users could literally scan a property near them in real time, walking by or in any print medium, and get all of the possible information, such as detailed suburb information, suburb profiles, demographics, median pricing, buying or selling conditions, property hotspots, any other supporting information for that particular neighborhood, and capital growth trends from that particular environment, and therefore enabling a prospective buyer to gain deeper insights on the location and whether that particular neighborhood environment or price point would suit their lifestyle. And they could also explore the property through real estate app before making a purchase decision. So in many instances, there's an opportunity to virtually walk through the physical environment as well. And it's phenomenal. It then took it a step further, and you could look at your monthly payment schedule and therefore assess your affordability at that particular point. And if you actually were interested in purchase the property, you can do that online through a virtual agent, and you can then share that with all of your friends. So the biggest takeaway from their proposition is an application that captures the whole customer journey, from exploring a house to actually financing it to actually signing the deal, and you need to then physically go and collect the keys.
Wow, that's amazing. I've never even heard of that before, but it makes it sound so like next level. I'm like, that's exactly what people want. That's what, the convenience of that. But it's encouraging because, Craig, some South African banks have been playing with these types of technologies for years now, haven't they?
Yeah, Kevin, that is true. Hey, what's great is SA banks are often seen as leaders in the global banking sector, and when it comes to application and newer tech such as AR and VR, we know banks, or our banks have been active in this space for a while. So referencing the article entitled "SA Banks See New Opportunities in Virtual Augmented Reality," posted by Sibahle Malinga, an IT Web senior journalist, in Feb this year, we note the following. South African banks are redefining their banking services with virtual reality and augmented reality as they look to create immersive customer experience on their online banking platforms. As the COVID-19 pandemic drives more customers online, banks across the globe are integrating VR and AR to offer customers personalized and seamless digital experiences at reduced operational costs, but at the same time offering services available that would be in any physical branch. While the next frontier technologies are still in the early stages in SA's banking sector, First National Bank, Nedbank, ABSA, and Standard Bank have invested in either AR or VR to provide customers with multi-platform functionality on their mobile banking apps, including finding branch locations, as we alluded to earlier, advanced gamification, and education tutorials, all part of their banking platform strategies. So, yeah, really, really good to see that the big four. I think, I haven't seen anything from Capitec on an AR point of view, but in fairness to them, I didn't pursue that in the construct of the content today. So I'm definitely going to go and have a look at that. So Kevin, what's cool is I also, from this article, picked up on some implementation examples as well. So again, as the list of the 10 internationals is, there's some really nice stuff the independents are doing in South Africa. So ABSA partnered with Snapchat to introduce an augmented reality game on their multimedia messaging app, and the game was introduced just over a year ago. It uses innovative tools to reach South Africans, to teach, I should say, South Africans on how to save while also providing daily entertainment. And I think what they've got right there is that financial literacy and financial education is a fundamentally important part of the makeup of our society, and anybody in the financial services sector is really required to ensure some delivery of fin literacy delivery. So Standard Bank created a high-end VR game to educate its customers about the advantages of digital banking in a real user case scenario. In some of the branches, they had these particular VR experience rooms set up, and customers could actually then really immerse themselves in it and physically touch and feel in a VR space the various bank offerings and products. But how's this for you? So as early as 2017, FNB introduced their AR technology to the banking app. And as we spoke about last week, FNB, I think it was in our off-air conversation, FNB really just having broken the ground in so many areas of online banking in South Africa, big up to them. And they worked with their eBucks partner to introduce how to use their rewards efficiently, and they even introduced FNB TV, which is a virtual reality service to help customers navigate banking, and had little snippets and clips that came to life through the FNB TV to bring that to life, but really partnering with their eBucks partners to show you where to go and burn your points as well. So launching new products, launching tips, and allowing you to go and find areas to go and make your spend. And then last but not least here, Nedbank has added the AR feature to their private wealth mobile suite, which is helping clients find their nearest ATM or Nedbank branch. And that's just a very functional, systematic layering, but I'm sure they'll embellish it and create deeper layers of experience over time. So South African banks have embraced technology, currently are, and I believe, if we see FNB continue with what it has been doing, hopefully they'll continue to lead and bring us some more sexy stuff over the next 5 years.
Yeah, so Craig, just like a question that's sort of not on my list of questions here is, so in aim of creating or using augmented reality from a marketing perspective is really touching the consumer so that you really get consumers engaged with your brand, really get your consumers wanting to use your brand more.
Yes.
So that's really the point, right?
It's the opportunity here is, from a financial services point of view, you in essence are engaging more with the brand, and theoretically at an AR level, you're actually using the product suite more effectively. So you can do your banking in a digital sense, okay? But there's also the storytelling and buy-in to the brand. So the launch of, in fact, let me cite an example. A couple of years ago, Ben & Jerry's did, for me, one of the most amazing augmented reality pieces. They found this incredible insight that the little tub of Ben & Jerry's, when you took it out of the freezer, you put it on the table, there was a certain period of time that it was optimum to put your spoon in without having to go and heat your spoon, because you take a tub of ice cream out the freezer, you just want to dive in and get ready to eat. Okay, but those little tubs of Ben and Jerry's had a particular time where the softness was sufficient for the first scoop of the brand experience. So what they did is they launched an AR game where you kept the lid on and you pointed the camera to the top of the lid of the Ben & Jerry's tub, and it launched the Ben & Jerry's characters, okay, and they danced for a particular period of time. And when that dance was over, that was the signal to take the lid off and take your first scoop, because you'd be able to, have a soft scoop and have your first immersive experience. So there it is. It's drawing you into a full immersive experience of actually learning about the brand, being entertained about the brand or entertained with the brand, and then actually enjoying the brand. Whereas on the banking side, it's using technology and innovation to do your banking processes.
It's amazing. And that's why, it's such a relevant conversation, right? So, but thinking back to our closing comments last week, I recall you mentioned something about AR can also have relevance to the clothing retail sector. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's correct. We did touch on that, Kevin. So interestingly, an expansion of the finextra.com blog article titled "What AR and VR Brings for Business," we see that it has got significant relevance in a couple of others. So insurance, for instance, insurance companies can utilize it from a claims point of view, exactly as I mentioned earlier on. Collecting information, recording it on a real-time basis, and making the work a lot more instantaneous, efficient, and streamlined at the end of the day. So insurance picking up on that again. But from an e-com and retail point of view, playing exactly to what you're saying, is it enables customers to have a more personalized and interactive experience, and it provides information on products, on pricing, on special offers, on manufacturing dates, expiry dates, and again, going back to one of our previous conversations, the green types of ingredients, where they came from, etc., etc. From a fashion and beauty point of view, it can provide 2 and 3D visual effects to showcase that actual particular application in reality. So, how do you apply? Let's say it's a beauty brand for women and makeup. How do you actually then apply it? So it's giving you a full tutorial on that. And from a fashion point of view, how do you superimpose and overlay what that particular outfit and or garment looks like? But then you can save it and you can share it and get some peer group buy-in and thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether you should purchase that product or not. So definitely relevance there. Really, really nice space here is from an interior design point of view, where we're seeing some great success in the space with the likes of Dulux Paints. Dulux have got a phenomenal app where you can literally point it at a particular environment. You can select your color and it would superimpose and enhance the color on that environment, and you can start working with that. But they're also home decor and accessories, the likes of IKEA having launched their own app as well, where you can select your furniture and point it at a corner again. It'll superimpose that piece of furniture into the particular environment as well. So definitely very functional there. And then you're picking up on the education and training components, can help deliver realistic tutorials for students through real-life simulations in a safe environment. The VR technology in this particular instance provides simulated a base for virtual labs and practical experiments, and it helps in the reduction of physical infrastructure and setting up at labs. Medicine and healthcare, the AR apps are already used for a variety of tasks, from helping patients to identify their symptoms to enabling surgeons to have a view into a patient's body without making any large incisions. And the collective of the AR and VR has proven itself as one of the key factors in diagnosis and treatment of patients in remote diagnosis. And then, 3 more here. Manufacturing and operational safety. AR can definitely simplify and improve factory processes, as well as enable engineers to demonstrate prototypes. Most importantly, ASR can act as a helping hand for field workers by providing real-time data that helps reduce errors, improve accuracy and safety and quality. From a tourist and travel point of view, I mentioned earlier, could literally, point it at an environment and bring information to life, but also, you can do your booking and see virtual tours and experiences through that in real time. And then gamification, something that I really haven't spent much time in, but AR can bring any virtual world of games to anyone through a mobile handset, whether in the form of an interactive board game or visually adventurous games where multiple people can play and partake in.
Yeah, Craig, you mentioned just two points that I made note of here is there's actually a show on, I think it's Netflix, that's currently showing where they take interior design, well, they go to someone's house, look at the layout and kind of go back and recreate the real life version of something that you can actually see on screen. And then you choose your design, and then they literally go and recreate an entire house from a sort of watching it. Yeah, it's incredible to kind of see that they take something from a virtual world and literally bring it to life in a real-time space. And the other thing you mentioned here is gamification, which is so important because I've already seen a platform where they're not specifically using AR, VR, but they are using gamification in terms of leadership, right? And you go through an actual game and work through a whole bunch of stuff and obstacles and challenges, and it literally speaks to the leadership of a team. Like gamification in the world of how we actually learn stuff and how it can impose in our worlds completely, even in that degree. It's amazing.
I like that gamification reference, and what's interesting here, gamification can happen without the need of headsets and things like that. You're quite right, because gamification, in-app gamification, you can win points to go to another level, and you can unlock some more information as part of your training modules that your continuous professional development programs or internal communication programs, and releasing sound bites of information achieve that gamification. And that's a sense check to see that without you needing to be authoritative and wag a stick over somebody and just say, have you done this, have you done this, have you done this, you can manage it in the back end and understand participation to different gamification levels and unlock the next level of information. Quite right, Kevin.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, I mean, I'm like, every time we chat, it's a learning experience. And I've just learned that technology is driving market and customer engagement. And at times I wonder where it's all going to end as I can't even begin to determine what the future is going to look like, Craig. So you listen to all this, you kind of go, wow, how does that, it opens up so many conversations. But I mean, from today's session, what are the key tips that we can share with listeners?
Yeah, Kevin, I wish we could crystal ball gaze. It'd be wonderful to understand, even by the end of this year, where tech is taking our particular industry. But that's we just got to keep our heads in these conversations to ensure that we can at least try and stay abreast with what that conversation is. So, to close off today, I think I just want to highlight some of those pointers again from the guru99.com, Kevin, because .com blog, I should say, because they're just really simple in defining what augmented reality is, where it's used, what the advantages are, and then close off with a bit of a difference again. So where is it used? So AR apps are being developed which embed text, images, and videos. They are activated through printing, through the advertising industry. Both of these are using AR to display digital content on top of real world printed publications. AR allows you to at least develop and translation apps. This is a piece that I actually didn't pick up on in the travel section, is the ability to point at something in a foreign environment on your travels, and there are certain words that are key triggers, and it can help you then interpret text in other languages as well, which is just phenomenal. It really is. And with the help of the Unity 3D engine tool, has been used to develop real-time 3D games as well. And I say I'm not a big gamer, but I'd love to see some of that in action. The advantages of augmented reality, Kevin, offers individualized learning, a really big, important point for me. It fosters a learning process. It can teach you across a wide variety of fields and knowledge sectors. It offers innovation and continuous improvement. It increases accuracy. It can be used to increase user knowledge and information. People can share their experiences over long distances, and it definitely helps to build games that offer real experiences to the users. From a disadvantage point of view, I'd go to say that it is expensive to implement and develop. It's also expensive to maintain. Lack of privacy is a bit of a drawback for AI. Yes, because it's launched in real time in front of you, and if you are in a collective group setting, if we're sitting around the table now, anything that was launched off my device and you were next to me, you'd have full view of. So yeah, lack of privacy is potentially a drawback. The lower performance of level AR devices are a bit of a drawback. And fortunately, technology and handsets are evolving. Even the cheaper handsets are able to launch more enriched experiences. It can cause mental health issues, as with anything, when you get into a lock and the stimulus criterion, not understanding the behavioral aspects of that problematic. It may affect overall reality principle as well. And for me, this is exacerbated even further in the virtual reality world. People are losing that sense of what my step of today is into the step of tomorrow in those experiences, and that has got some problems as well. And extreme engagement with AR can lead to major healthcare issues such as eye problems and the one thing we all know, just sitting around being lazy, obesity.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Remember the key differences between augmented reality and virtual reality are such. Augmented reality, the system augments the real world scene. Virtual reality, it completely immersive virtual environments. In AR, the user always has a sense of presence in the real world. In VR, the virtual senses are under control of the system. AR is 25% virtual and 75% real, whereas in VR, it's 75% virtual and only 25% real. The technology in AR is partially immerses the user in the action, whereas in VR, the technology fully immerses the user in the action. AR requires upward of 100 megabits per second bandwidth. VR can operate at a much lower spectrum of only 50 mbs per connection. There's no need for an AR handset to be fully immersed. And in many instances, VR headsets are required to immerse yourself in it. With AR, the end users are still in touch with the real world while interacting with virtual objects near to them. However, in the VR space, the VR user is isolated from the real world and immerses himself in a completely fictitious world. And in augmented reality, it's used to enhance both the real and the virtual worlds, whereas in virtual reality, it's used to enhance a fictional reality for the gaming world.
So, Craig, I mean, now that we have such insights about AR and VR, are we living in a simulation?
Gosh, Kevin, that's
it becomes so real, right? And then we experience these types of things in real time, and you kind of going, well, sometimes it feels real, right? You know,
yeah, sure.
Those games that I've seen, it really does feel real.
That's a really good question, because I know mates who are big gamers and particularly in racing cars and things like that and track. Yeah. And what's interesting watching them, in some instances, you actually seeing, you'll be cruising down a street and there's a real billboard, and the real billboard is driving a real time digital ad for a brand of this particular moment in time. And it's obviously understood the data in the back end of the behavior, this person's online purchasing, the brands they look at, etc. So yes, it's immersed in a game, but feeding you real-time advertising. And that really is where there's a big move for brands, where they're actually flipping out of a lot of the traditional space into now in video advertising.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, like, in terms of everything we've spoken about, what are we chatting about? What can we look forward to next?
Yeah, Kevin, what I'm trying to do is make contact with one of the financial services businesses, one of the big banks, and just get to talk to somebody in marketing to just talk about how they build their brand, and how the likes of these conversations have come to reality in their respective brands. But firstly, about, what is their brand, how's the brand structured, and why things like this are important in their business. So I hope to conclude one of those conversations in the next day or two.
Fantastic, exciting stuff. Guys, so if you want to find out more, check it out, happening on ebizradio.com. That happens every Thursday lunchtime for the marketing segment. Craig, thank you so much for joining us, and we're looking forward to next week.
Fantastic, Kevin. Me too. Thank you.
Cheers for now. Bye.